So, guys, the upcoming Fantastic Four movie comes out at the end of July, and it seems like right now they've got some good news on their plate. There have been very early box office predictions giving estimates of like 136 million, maybe even more for this film. Certainly, there was a lot of people talking about how when the movie's pre-sale tickets went online, it supposedly crashed these pre-sale ticket sellers. There have been people who have pushed back against that, but it isn't all good news because they're in the middle of this press junket right now, and pretty much everyone from Vanessa Kirby to Pedro Pascal to producer Grant Curtis are giving statements that at the very least to people on the internet are going to be construed in a way that don't exactly jive with the way the vibe shift is going in the year 2025. The headline says the Fantastic Four First Steps producer appears to confirm that Sue Storm will be the team's leader. Of course, everybody else considers Reed Richards to be the team leader, so people have to ask the question why this would happen in the year 2025 after the, again, vibe shift.
Well, it's funny because I haven't been paying attention to a lot of the fan debates about Fantastic Four, but it came up on IRL last week, and I think the guest, Drew Hernandez, he said it's Mary Sue Storm. Everyone is calling her Mary Sue Storm because she is taking charge in this portrayal.
I will say that that is a fantastic name that I didn't even think about. So that's amazing.
Yeah, it wasn't my idea, but
this was the quote from the producer. He says, "If you do go back through the comics, you realize that Sue Storm is arguably the leader of the Fantastic Four because without Sue Storm, everything falls apart. We had the desire to date aesthetically, but in terms of character and treatment, who should be front and center, it's like, hey, let's tell the best story possible." I translate that to be, let's use 1960s aesthetic, but let's girl boss in the way that you do in 2025. I did get into a discussion. I was on with Valiant Renegade last night because we had the discussion about Ballerina, and maybe this will come up later this week. But I do think there is actually a distinction to be made against Girl Boss and against Mary Sue being different things, because the point is that in that movie, she gets her ass kicked up and down constantly. And it's hard to call her a girl boss when she's not constantly being valorized by everyone around her.
You mean a Mary Sue?
Yes.
Because you think Ballerina
is a girl boss, but not a Mary Sue.
Yeah, not a Mary Sue.
She's not valorized constantly at the best at everything. She did not, after a fashion, just get good at everything without having to train, which is a hallmark of that character.
What makes her a girl boss then?
I guess because she does end up winning all these fights, and it's past the realm of believability. But the point that I made in the review was that, look, believability went out the window when John Wick went off the roof and survived. And in a lot of ways, it went out the window in John Wick 1 when he falls off the balcony of like the nightclub and he lands on the small of his back where he had his like Glock 26 in the small of his back, and it didn't break his back. But the point is that these interviews don't look great at a time where you have to master your marketing campaign. You cannot afford any slip-ups. At this point now, Captain America 4 didn't do the money it needed to. It looks like Thunderbolts is going to be like the second worst performing Marvel movie maybe ever. It's barely
to the Marvels.
To the Marvels.
Then they also did an interview with Vanessa Kirby, who said she laughed at the comic where in this issue, Reed Richards buys Sue Storm a dress to stop her from complaining. And she hopes that this portrayal will modernize her character. But she didn't want to make Sue Storm a bad boss bitch, in Vanessa Kirby's own words. Instead, she set out to find a, quote, genuine feminine soulfulness.
Again, I think the problem here is just that when people consider Reed Richards to be the leader of the Fantastic Four, any change at all is not going to be met with kindness. Nobody's going to be giving you the benefit of the doubt here. The biggest hallmark to me when I think of bad female characters tends to be snark. So as long as they avoid snark, I tend to be on the lenient side. I think it's one of the reasons I hated Indiana Jones 5 so much was the snark. I despise that aspect of characters.
But I think the most common complaint about Fantastic Four is just the fact that Pedro Pascal is Reed Richards, not just the portrayal of Sue Storm as a Mary Sue character. And here's what Vanessa Kirby said about working with Pedro Pascal. and you might recall this video of them doing promotion together on stage, and he gets anxiety, so he grabs her by the hand to stabilize himself emotionally. Vanessa Kirby said, "I've never had a male actor as a counterpart who's been so utterly equal and supportive of the relationship, and also the female character opposite him. I feel so grateful every day to have an actor like Pedro who is so generous." And then Pedro responded by saying, "I love being led in a way. What you may identify as generosity for me, it just isn't. I'm inspired by, I guess, just powerful women have been the thing that has gotten me through being alive. So to have the opportunity to stand by one, to learn from one, just a partner, it's partnership. It's male and female, but it's also kind of a transcendent sort of partnership in the work and in the characters. So I don't really know what the F I'm going to do without you, honestly."
Look, I don't even know what to make of that.
So
like, I don't.
It sounds like he's like kind of got a crush on her, but he also has
wasn't
like a
there a movie called Cuck that came out a couple years ago? He should have been in Cuck.
Yes, and this reminded me of all of the comments Chris Pine made when he was doing promotion for the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
I forgot about that.
And the writers and directors at the time did an interview with Variety where they admitted they love emasculating leading men, but the film's storyline was in no way based on wokeness. And they also said
it is fair to point out that people that movie ended up being highly regarded.
People
by
liked
people.
it.
People liked that movie.
It was just a bad press run. And then Chris Pine, they said, was more than happy to stand down from the alpha male role, allowing writers and directors to make him look as bad as possible throughout the film, where they preferred to have their male heroes challenged and not simply heroic.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought the whole point of a hero is that they face challenges, though.
He does, however, perform that same role in Wonder Woman opposite Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
That's kind of his role in that movie, too. Maybe he has that on his resume.
Well, maybe
it's like under his special talents.
In Dungeons and Dragons, he possibly took a more like panicky male lead.
There was also comments from Collider that referred to the past Fantastic Four movies as a more male-gazing era of filmmaking, which just makes me want to just end it all sometimes. It does. Comments.
Well, what are they referring to any specific
to the way
instance?
Sue Storm was performed in, was portrayed by Jessica Alba in the prior films. They referred to her as being more eye candy in the 2007 and 2005. Was it 2005 and 2007 movies? I don't remember which year Rise of the Silver Surfer was, but that, and then they said that the Kate Mara version was marginally better in 2015. Well, ignoring the fact that that movie is literally considered one of the worst comic book movies of all time. It's literally called Fan Four Stick, and it's derided and hated by everybody. And that was the one where they race swapped a bunch of characters.
So
as well.
The 2015 not the
Jessica Alba ones.
Okay.
Look, this is just one of those things where I think we need to go back to the era of like 2023 in the writer's strike where they're just not allowed to talk.
It was so nice. It wasn't lucrative for our business of talking about these things, but we fared fine.
I think what they should do is they should just the bravest executive to ever get hired at one of these companies is going to be, you know, the Don Draper meme where he's like this. He's like, what if they don't talk?
What does this
like,
have to do with hamburgers?
Yeah, like, so the point would be to send them out, maybe to do some type of interactive press tour. I did see the one, there was this great one where a bunch of kids got to meet Superman. They got to meet David Cornsweet as Superman. That was kind of, you know, it makes him look heroic, but he's not over there talking about how Lois Lane is going to represent truth in the era of fake news over at the Daily Planet. And there's just so many ways that you could do this without letting these actors talk, and not even to their own fault here. But the issue is that it's going to be misinterpreted. Whatever you're saying is going to be misinterpreted by someone. We had those topics like a month ago or 2 months ago now, where it was like, where they talked about how there would be gender politics in this movie. And me and you have had this discussion more than a few times. When this stuff comes out, usually it's a lot less prevalent in the movie than it is in the promotion to the movie. Usually the movie ends up being slightly better than how it sounds when these actors get talking and kind of, you know, waxing poetic about what their movie's going to be like. Mm-hmm. The best thing you could do is just tell them all to shut up. Don't let them talk.
You could at least tell them these are your bullet points. These are
No.
the things we want you to say.
Because a
Don't
good
veer
interviewer
off from our guidance.
A good interviewer will find a way. They
Yeah.
find a way
Yeah,
to
they
turn
always
it
do.
that direction. They also said there was a That Park Place article that referenced the fact that Adam Driver was at one point up for the character of Reed Richards and said that he wasn't able to emotionally connect with the character. Maybe this is why. Maybe he's like, I don't want to be the leader who's not the leader. They also brought up the fact that Mahershala Ali has had to push back several times in this ill-fated Blade movie that isn't getting done anytime soon, because the rumor was that they kept wanting to make it about Blade's daughter and not doing the easiest story in the history of the world, which is cool vampire kills vampires.
Yeah.
Cool Daywalker kills vampires is not a hard
It's a
concept.
formula. It works.
It's like Blade 1 is amazing as a movie, and if you can't get that right, then I don't know what there is to do. I'm going to say that the early predictions were too far out to buy whether the $136 million number is accurate. If we get into early July and that number stands, then that could definitely hold true. But either way, it doesn't matter because either way, it does matter extensively, because with the failure of the last two Marvel movies not living up to what they needed to make, think about what people must think now that there's an Avengers movie, however, like reformed in name, that made like less than $400 million. Because remember, it's not called Thunderbolts anymore. It's called New Avengers. And now there is a Avengers movie that couldn't even break $400 million.
So you think that they are going to lie about the budget for this Fantastic Four movie, right?
I mean, the meme is like now every movie cost $180 million, but...
I just checked and it said there's no publicly disclosed budget yet for the Fantastic Four movie, but it's likely to be higher than whatever they say.
It's way more than $180 million.
Because of the fact that they were in the middle of production during the writer's strike.
Yeah. So it's expensive.
And the SAG strike.
And they needed to make money. They need all of it. Anything involving X-Men, Fantastic Four, or any of those characters needs to make money, because it needs Bob Iger to be able to show, hey, look, it made sense for us to buy these characters, because that's what Bob Iger is good at. He's not good at creating his own characters and bolstering them. He's great at buying up IP from other companies.
You also mentioned that they're going to have a lot of competition. In
July
the
is busy.
box office,
so I get the idea is like, look, July is busy. It's got Jurassic World on the 2nd. It's got Superman the 11th. And then it's got Fantastic Four the 25th, I believe. So you do get like a 2-week break between Superman and Fantastic Four. But, if you're the type of person, the diehards will go either way. But not everybody wants to spend $200 at the movies 3 times in a month. That's a lot to ask of people. And it has to have a strong opening weekend, because Marvel movies historically are front loaded, meaning that they don't do well with the week to week holds. They do well in the opening weekend, and that makes up the lion's share of their box office. The idea is like most movies make their money, a third of their box office in the opening weekend. Right? So if it opens to $136 million, if it opens to $100 million, that's not enough.
Right.
Not at that budget.
Well, can you enlighten me why the summer box office is so packed every year? I would assume that people are less likely to go to the movies when it's nice out.
I mean, it opens up showings during the week for kids that want to go that might not necessarily need to go with their parents.
I feel like kids don't care about the Fantastic Four.
I don't know. I assume
is that just me? Like
in some
living
ways,
in a bubble?
their strategy might be the same way that millennials treated Lilo and Stitch in Moana 2, which is like or even Inside Out 2, which is like millennials loved it and then brought their kids to go see it. So maybe the idea is like,
even the Disney dinks are more likely to have kids than the Marvel dinks.
Oh, I don't know about that. Look, men love superheroes in general. You don't have to be the quintessential nerd to love superheroes. Men have always loved superheroes. But in general, this movie's got a long way to go, and it's going to have to make way more than 600 to 700 million, in my opinion, if it wants to really justify everything, given the fact that the last two movies just didn't make the money that they needed to. If you'd gotten really great box offices out of Captain America 4 and out of Thunderbolts, then this movie wouldn't have as much riding on it. But it's the same thing's going on at DC right now. Superman has to make a crap ton of money to justify James Gunn's vision for the future.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.